Hello, my name is Azaniah Shelton, and I just want to make this video. This is my first time really speaking in front of a camera like this, but um, this video is about me creating my own story, and I'm excited that I'm working on it. It's a comic book story. I'm a um, comic book artist and writer, story writer, new to it, like technically not new to it, but this is what I'm explaining in the video. So the story I've been working on is called The Adventures of KO and Kid. This story I've been working on for 20 years. This is 2026, the making of this video. I started first working on this story in 2006 when I was a child. My inspiration came from just being watching cartoons growing up, like Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon, PBS Kids, stuff like that. And I will always pause the TV screen and draw the characters that I see. And then, like, I got inspired, like, why don't I make my own? Why don't I do it my own? So I got inspired by things like Dragon Ball, Naruto, Sailor Moon, Inuyasha anime, and stuff like that. So I decided, why not create my own story? And that's the like birth of it. I started on construction paper, different colors, and I created characters. They had Dragon Ball Z like hair, and it was fighting on different like places. Like they was like different, like in my mind, like video game places, like ice fireboards and things of that nature. And then over the years, it developed and continued to grow. I wish I had the original books from when I first started. My first like like I said, it was 2006 when I had the construction paper, and then I transitioned to making it into an actual book. And I remember from like '06, so when I first made it to a book was the summer of 2009. That summer when I created the story, I drew it in my book in 2009. I don't have that book. However, I do have the book that I made in 2010 when I wanted to make it more professional. This is the last preservation of that original from 2010. That's like 16 years ago. This is my first attempt at the story. Pages got ripped out. But as you can see, I had like bad drawings of it as a kid, and I would have like long explanational sentences under it because I didn't really know how to make like comic art. So this was all the way back in 2010 when I was just a child, about 13, 12, 13 years old making this. And I'm going to explain to you what the story is about, like a brief synopsis in a moment. But this is my story. It was very violent. Even as a kid, it was like very violent. But as you can see the Dragon Ball inspiration and other like inspirations as well. But I say that to say the story that I'm making now is a reinterpretation of this, but much better in much more detail. So before I tell y'all what the story is actually about, I do want to explain what I learned in my comic book making. This just fell off now, but this is the one I made in 2011. You see the one I made in 2011. You can see some of the images right here. Um, Again, it was like bad, you know, just things I was doing for fun, but learning to draw. My art making skills have improved. I won't say I'm the best or nowhere near the best now. I still have a long way to go. But this is what I learned as far as story making, though. And then I promise you I'm going to get to the story. When you create a story, like especially when I was younger, I had things that needed to happen, and I needed characters to go from point A to point B. Those things need to happen. You need this character to go here, here to here. But one thing I learned, how it happens is just as important of what needs to happen. Meaning, if you need a character to go to the store, how they go to the store for the plot to, it needs to make sense. Meaning, if they have to go to the store, uh, but you say, let's just say you wanted them to randomly get into these altercation with these people that changed their life on their way to the store. How that happened is just important of that needing to happen to go to the store. Meaning, if they needed to go to the store, but you needed the characters to interact with the character, another character, for example, if the character was driving in a car and the car just suddenly exploded and they jumped out the car and exploded, and then that's when they interacted with other characters. That doesn't make sense if you don't explain how the car exploded. How it happened needs to make just as much a sense of needing to happen. So if the character was driving to the car and they got hit by a car, and the person that got hit by the car was the person they had to interact with, that's how it happened. That's is important of what needed to happen. So you need things to happen, but how it happened, you need to make it make sense. Continuity needs to make sense. And characters, and not only that, how and what needs to happen is what the story does. Character development is just as important too, meaning that your characters need to make sense on what they're doing. Not only it makes sense for the story, the overall story, it needs to make sense for the individual characters. I used to write characters that didn't have big scenes. I used to just have them say lines that the plot needed them to say. It didn't matter what character it was, I just needed it to be stated. So I'm like, let me give it to a character who ain't speaking much. Well, if the character is not speaking much, they don't need to be in the scene. So you need to remove them from the scene. Or if you want them to speak, you need them to speak about stuff that's important for the character to say. So those are things that I've learned over my journey over the story. This is also a version of the story that I made in like 2020. As you can see, the long paragraph letters at the bottom have changed. My art improved a little bit. Again, I'm not the best. But one thing even I learned from this 2020 is that the dialogue is way too much on the scene. It's too many conversational bubbles. And when I digitize it, and you have to make the dialogue make sense as well. But this is the 2020 version. I'm currently working on a new version that I'm drawing on paper, and then I'm going to digitize it, and I'm going to colorize it and all of that stuff. I have different artists that's assisting me and working on those things, and different people working on the comics. I guess I could show you some of the character designs that I've came up with. But this is now. So these are the things that I've learned about story making, just growing up. So I went over what needs to happen, how it happened. I went over not having characters just randomly saying stuff. It needs to make sense for the characters themselves. I went over like speech bubbles and things of that nature. This is just an example of one of the things. But these are character designs. Some of them. This is my original character, KO. Let me see. This is also him. This character design, KO. One of my main characters from the story that I will be releasing, and I will be releasing it next year. This is his younger brother, Kid. Again, the Dragon Ball influence. So now I think it's a perfect time to tell you what the story is about. I'll show you more character designs later. But the story is about two brothers, KO and Kid. They are growing up as orphans, and they are inheritors of this war that their father was once a part of, and now they have to deal with the aftermath and repercussions and the results of it. KO is the older brother who protects his younger brother, Kid. Kid is the softer, kind brother. KO is more the aggressive, rough brother who grew up in hard life of the streets. The two together, these brothers have to work together, and they meet different people, and they have to learn to fight these evil entities, these bad people that was once associated with their father's generation, and now they a new generation of heroes that have to inherit something that they had no say so in it, and now they inheritors of this war and of this fight. The story is beautiful. I've been developing and working on it and changing it over the years, as you can see with some of the comics. This is I have a new comic that I've been working on as well. Like I stated, this bad baby is the new one. Inside of here, all of these pages, you're going to see it. This is a scrapped image, but this is like the processor that I make. Everything that I draw don't get put into the final work, but you can see some things. But I will show you just the first couple of pages. This is the beginning of it. If you want to pause the screen, I'm going to digitize it and redraw it. This is just the first work of it. These are the brother KO and his younger brother Kid. They growing up as orphans and having to deal with all of the results. But I say that to say, this is a 20-year making passion project. It will be released. If not this year, if not by the fall of this year, it would definitely be out by 2027. I promise you. I've been working hard and long on this. I am so excited. I just want to give you this quick video. Well, it's not that quick, but I just want to give you this video and explaining my desires and passions of this story that I've been creating for 20 years in the making. And people always say your first attempt is usually not your best one. It is usually not going to be the one that works. And I have multiple attempts on this, so I am ready. I'm excited to share it with you guys. The story is called The Adventures of KO and Kid. Like I said, it will be released by either fall, winter this year. I hoped I could have released it by the 2020 anniversary of me working on it. But if not, it would definitely be released in 2027. And I just have to work on different artists that I have working with me and different story editors that I have working with me to create this beautiful story that will be able to be purchased and sold to you guys. Thank you. If you watched the end of this video, please subscribe to my channel. I will be making more videos like this. I know y'all used to the 2K videos, but I want to do something that I'm actually truly passionate about. Thank you for watching. See you later.